Shuster here in the summertime. We're all looking for books and movies and things. And I've got a movie that you have to see. The storyline goes like this. An average American family becomes entangled in a bizarre web of espionage and corporate secrets because their hacker son gets targeted by the US government. Sound familiar? Well, it's a remarkable thriller in a documentary style presentation. The movie is called Enemies of the State. Here's the trailer, watch.
I came across a federal court decision, and I'm whipping through this, and it's like anonymous torture, US servicemen. I didn't quite realize at that point how bizarre the story would really be.
My son was a pioneer in this activist group, Anonymous.
He'd been running this secret server, and someone had dropped off a file.
That's the day that everything changed.
He's got some crazy information that they did not want out there.
And I thought, we're dead. We decided to fight this together.
Where can you go to protect yourself from the United States of America?
Every step of his story is from some secret, shadowy world.
Mexico, Russia, Canada.
We were surveilled the entire time.
And that's just the trailer. This is a terrific movie, everybody. Joining us is Sonia Kennebach. She's the filmmaker behind this. She's also an investigative journalist. Sonia, thanks for doing this. First of all, what prompted you to make this movie?
Thanks for having me. It was really, the first part was me being attracted to these type of stories, secret stories that involve the FBI and government secrets and so on. So when I first heard about the Matt Hart story, I really just wanted to know more. And it turned out to be this incredible research rabbit hole that I dug into. And the film is really our journey of investigation.
Tell us a little bit more about the main character, Mr. Hart.
So when I first heard about the story, I heard that his parents, both of them were in the military as well, just as Matt Hart. They were spies during the Cold War. And they have said that their son, Matt Hart, was framed and tortured by the FBI because of his hacktivism, and they say that he was an alleged WikiLeaks courier. And so that was sort of the starting point of the story. And I met with his parents. I don't want to give away too much of the story, but at that time, Matt was not accessible to us. And so I met with his family. They showed me a lot of documents, and these documents just really pointed into really dark direction. They had documents that showed that Matt had received a very heavy old drug, Thorazine, and yeah, it just had a lot of things that I really wanted to investigate further. And so I was actually still in the middle of doing research and filming for my previous film, which is about drone program whistleblowers, National Bird. But I never really forgot about the Matt Hart story. So after that film was done, I went back into it, and it really is, it's a story like I've never discovered before.
A lot of people say it's even sort of stranger than fiction. We should point out that this is based on a true story. Are there things, though, that you had to simply for filmmaking's sake either abbreviate or change characters?
No, this is a documentary, and this is a true story. And yes, I always try to emphasize that because it is almost unbelievable, in a sense that, so the starting point of the story is this military family from, Middle America, and they crossed the border to Canada in the middle of the night because they say that the US government is after them. And so they're applying for political asylum in Canada. And from there, we are unwrapping this, and following this story. And it, and it really, it does, it goes into hacktivism. There's a lot of contradictory and statements in the film, and it really, for me, going deeper into the story, it became this kind of a microcosm of what we're dealing with today, where you find you see all this information on the internet about government misconduct and all these bad things that the US government is and has been doing. And so for me to investigate that further, these allegations that the FBI was framing and torturing someone, it was such an important story to me to tell.
Based on the investigative work you've done and putting this film together, do you have a sense in terms of how many families, how many people are caught up in the same sort of stuff that the Hart family face?
I mean, that's a really difficult question because so much of what we are hearing about, and I've been, becoming over the years an expert on whistleblower stories. There is a very intense whistleblower prosecution in this country, and the prosecution of media sources. On the other hand, this particular case is not black and white. It is, filled with ambiguity. It is filled with contradictions, and there's not just one side of the story. And so for me, it became really a case study on investigative journalism and how to find the truth. To be honest, this film really, for me, is a film about the truth and how to find it, in a world full of secrecy and propaganda and government secrets. So it is larger than this one story that we are telling that is so bizarre and twisted.
It's also a world filled with conspiracies, largely enabled by the internet. We live in an age where you can literally find confirmation for anything you want to believe or not. What role does a conspiracy play in terms of the narrative of the story?
It does play a pretty big role in the sense that one part of the story is that the Matt Hart story, the way that his parents were telling it was covered worldwide in the media. So it started out as one big feature by one investigative journalist, and then a lot of other journalists worldwide started covering it. It was activists were using it as an example of how far the US government would go to suppress freedom of speech and go after all types of dissent. But what my team and I found out is that the story is not black and white, and a lot of what we are kind of experiencing in our world is filled with ambiguity, and especially if we go into this world of like national security and government secrets and so on, where you often have trouble independently, verifying information when the government is not cooperating. So that's what we were facing as journalists. We just ran, we tried to, get information from the FBI, and they said no one, from the FBI is allowed to provide us with information or and cooperate, with this project. So when you have a story that is so shrouded in secrecy, and you have you have government misconduct, very serious government misconduct, like things do they spread and get repeated and so on, and they get a life of its own, and that's really what we are following in the film, and when the audiences can follow our own journey of investigation, and when you watch it, I hope that the audiences will feel some of the struggles that my team and I were feeling while we were covering this story, the back and forth, the different perspectives that we had, the real struggle, like how do we find the truth when people, everyone has an agenda.
The film has gotten all kinds of great reviews and accolades at various film festivals. Have you gotten any reaction or heard any reaction from the FBI or other US government agencies that are essentially part of this film, even though they didn't cooperate?
Well, not yet, but normally the FBI, from my experiences doing this type of national security investigative work, they don't pick up the phone and call a journalist, even though I wish. And I actually really have to say, and my producing partner Ines Hoffman Kenna and I, we discuss it over and over again. These are government agencies. They have, huge press departments. And I do strongly believe in a democracy that, there should be government transparency, and these agencies and politicians as well, they have to respond to journalists' requests. Because otherwise, that's how you have, information. People are filling in gaps when they, when there's ambiguity, when they don't get access to real information. I honestly, I'm easy to find on the internet. I wish I could have a conversation with someone from the FBI about this case.
Sonja Kenneback, she is a documentary filmmaker. She's an investigative journalist. The documentary is called Enemies of the State. Sonja, congratulations on all the success with this film and all of your other films. Remarkable piece of work, and we're so appreciative that you would come on and talk about it with us today. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.